Hello, welcome to the Girls Peace Talk episode 9. I'm Victoria, a teen ambassador of Global Peace Institute from Georgia.
And I'm Rafah, a teen ambassador of the Global Peace Institute from Maldives.
And today we are going to talk about an interesting topic. Has there ever been a successful war? We'll talk about the causes of the war, share our opinions, and talk about historical wars. So, Rafa, could you please start with the first point?
Of course. War is one of the very few global concepts. Almost every culture in recorded history has had some concept of warfare and has risen or fallen due to war. And war has been defined by different scholars in different ways over the period of human history. Surely to say, war is a situation or a period of fighting between countries or groups of people. A war generally involves countries or group of people, involves weapons, militaries, organizations, and soldiers. War is a situation in which a nation enforces its right by using force. Most wars are also called armed conflicts.
So there is rarely one single clear cause of conflict and ultimately war. The causes of a war are usually numerous, and several reasons for a conflict can be intervened in a complicated way. So let's talk about the 5 main causes of the wars. And the first one is economic gain. Often wars are caused by one country's wish to take control of another country's rights. And whatever the other reasons for a war may be, there is almost always an economic motive underlying most conflicts, even if the stated aim of the war is presented to the public as something more noble. Some scientists believe that as the world's population increases and the basic resources become scarce, wars will be fought more often our fundamental essentials such as water and food. Rafa, could you please tell about some historical examples of wars, but for the economic gain?
Yes, of course, Historia. One of the few examples of wars fought for economic gain will be the Anglo-Indian War taking place between British East India Company and different Indian states. These wars led to the establishment of British colonial rule in India, which gave Britons unrestricted access to exotic and valuable resources to the Indian continent.
And now I'm going to talk about the second cause, and it's territorial gain. So a country might decide that it needs more land either for living space, agriculture use, or other purposes. And one of the examples of such wars is Serbo-Bulgarian War that was fought in the 19th century, when these two countries fought over a small border town after the river creating the border between the countries moved. And Rafa, could you tell about the third cause of the war?
Well, of course, the third reason would be nationalism. Nationalism in this context essentially means attempting to prove that your country is superior to another country by violent subjugation. This often takes in the form of invasion. Like, for example, World War I taking place in 1914 to 1918 caused many countries to become involved in the First War. Many pre-war Europeans believed in the cultured, economic, and military supremacy of their nation. Victoria, I would like you to continue with the fourth point.
Thank you, Rafa. And the fourth point is revenge. Seeking to punish or simply strike back for a perceived slight can often be a factor in the waging of war. Revenge also relates to nationalism, as the people of a country which has been wronged are motivated to fight back by fright and spirit. Unfortunately, this can lead to an endless chain of wars being set in motion, which is very difficult to stop. Historically, revenge has been a factor in many European wars, and the best example of such war is the Second World War. The rise of the Nazi Socialist Party and Germany's eventual domination of the European continent were direct results of the Treaty of Versailles, which imposed strict punishments on Germany.
The fifth reason will be civil war. These generally take place when there is a sharp internal disagreement within a country. The disagreement can be about who rules, how the country should be run, or the people's rights. American Civil War taking place in 1861 to 1865 was fought by the Union Army and the Confederate Army as a result of a long-standing controversy over slavery.
Well, we have discussed the different causes of wars. And in most causes, people think that they will achieve peace by fighting. However, war isn't the only way to bring peace. There are many alternative peaceful ways, such as negotiating to terms which are reasonable for both the countries, and hence resolving the problem. We might be divided by religion, sex, color, and the boundaries between our countries, but we all belong to the human race. One should treat the other like a brother and help each other out. There'll be differences for sure, which should be sorted out in a peaceful manner. Take a look at our two world wars. They have proved that wars cause major suffering, and in fact, the only reason the First World War ended that most of the countries involved were exhausted and fed up, and they backed their leaders for a ceasefire to be called. So, Rafa, how do you think would wars be endless if we had unlimited resources?
That's a good question, Victoria. Wars would be endless if it was not for humanity's own limit. Think about it. If we had unlimited resources, would wars ever end? We'll never reach peace by fighting. In fact, peace seems to be the last thing we're ever going to achieve.
So, Rafa, I have such a box for you. And let's imagine that this box is a country full of property. So the more resources the country has, the more desirable it becomes, like this box. And if it were empty, it would be less desirable. But still, let's hope to have countries with lots of prosperity and to leave people with their with high emotional intelligence. Then we'll have wealthy and healthy people in it. We will have wealthy and healthy, mindful people who live peacefully.
War will never be able to bring long-lasting peace. Nations will be hit emotionally and economically. So violence is not the only way to create peace. War is neither a solution or option to bring peace. Wars don't usually come out of nowhere. They typically don't and always begin with some sort of dispute which then turns violent.
So, Rafa, I'd like to share with you my opinion. So, I think that war is the last resort when all others seems to be unavailable. Now the problem is that we all have our ego. We have a life to live. People are prone to improve their conditions of life when there is disagreement. We let our primal nature get the best of us. So, what's the main source of the problem? Our needs are pretty much unlimited. Whenever we achieve something, we tend to go for more, climb higher and higher, and that's it. And the currently very limited resources available can't cope with our limitless demand. Not necessarily has it to be war, since this is how we make our daily life, just in another shape. Be it a meritocracy, social Darwinism, it's all the same.
It may be absurd to think that we as individuals can't truly have an impact in resolving conflicts, whether large or small. But the realization that no problem is too big for God empowers us to serve peacemakers wherever we may be. At the end of history's bloodiest century, we have an opportunity to fulfill one of humanity's oldest dreams, making the world largely free of war. Global changes make this goal achievable. Now, I would like to go through some examples of war portrayed in the media. Media outlets like movies, fictional books, and such have been portraying wars and its outcome for the longest times. Some of the few examples include Attack on Titan, a manga written and illustrated by the Japanese illustrator Hajime Isayama. It is set in a world where humanity lives within cities surrounded by walls that protect them from gigantic, man-eating humanoids referred as titans. The story follows Eren Yeager, who was to retake the world's freedom after a titan brings about the destruction of his hometown and the death of his mother. However, he comes to realization that not only his enemies are not only the titans but humans on the other side of the sea as well. This manga amazingly portrays issues and discrimination happening in the real world, and that neither side of a war is truly bad or good. As for Eren, he is shown as a grey zone protagonist, meaning that whether he sides with the good or evil is left to the reader's interpretation. Other examples also include Avengers: The Infinity War, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Divergent series, Wonder Woman, and Godzilla.
Thank you, Rafa, for bringing up such an interesting point. I liked it. Now I'd like to add something to our today's topic. Actually, humans don't love to trade war. It does the sad result of when one human being gets too powerful. They do this because of shame, anger, or maybe pain, or because they want to be recognized in a world that they feel has neglected them. It's true, though, that in every century we have lived in, an armed conflict has been going on somewhere in the world. And it's not because of our nature towards violence. It's because of our nature towards greed, desire, and lust for power. But why can't we all live in peace? Maybe it's because of human nature to be stubborn and to argue. One country wants one thing, another country wants another. They send in armed militants and conflict ensues. I know such a phrase: hope springs eternal. If somehow we can overcome our personal feelings and the necessity of power and recognition that is always there at the back of someone's mind, I really hope that one day, perhaps today or tomorrow, we will finally be able to unite and live in peace. And there's the worst feeling ever when you go to sleep in peace and in the morning thinking you are still in peace. Check the social media, turn on the news, and realize that you woke up in a war.
Mankind must put an end to war before war puts an end to mankind. War is the only game in which both sides lose. This game is also an incredible teacher, a brutal instructor. We learn lessons in war written in blood about sorrow, loss, and pain. We should respect our past and look hopefully forward. And more than anything, thank those who have served. For thousands of years, life has been teaching us the same lessons over and over. Through war and peace, through rags and riches, through stories of hope and of despair, through tragedies and failures that end in triumph and success.
And just to conclude our today's talk, I'd like to say that we, the new generation, don't watch the clock. Do what it does, and let's keep going. Now our talk is going to end. I really hope that it was interesting for you.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Goodbye.
Bye.